Yo, what's going on, my dudes? Welcome to another RuneScape news coverage video. For this video, we'll be talking about the live stream that they came out with on Friday regarding the Bank Rework. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the video. Let's go!
Cats is the illest. What you talking about, Willis?
Alright guys, before we get started, just know that you're going to be watching some footage of the actual Bank Rework actually functioning in the game itself. That being said, the interface itself is not necessarily finalized, so things may change based on player feedback or if some other road bumps come along the way where they have to make changes. So keep that in mind. What you're seeing may not be 100% indicative of the final product. That being said, they did cover a lot of things that I did talk about already in my previous video regarding this, so refer to that if you haven't seen that already. So I'm going to take the time to just focus on the things that weren't necessarily in the dev blog from the previous video, so that is where we're going to start. The first thing that I noticed on the live stream is that they've replaced the withdraw all but one button with a withdraw placeholder button. It'll withdraw the entire stack of whatever you have and leave a placeholder instead, which is essentially, in terms of how they function, almost identical to the withdraw all but one. Another important notable feature is that presets will automatically set placeholders. So if you activate any one of your 1 through 10 presets, take out a bunch of armor, weapons, whatever may have you, if it just so happens that those are the only quantities of those items that you have, then it will put a placeholder for each item accordingly. So you'll never lose those items' locations in your bank, which is amazing. Also, using the right click to wield option will also place a placeholder. Although I mentioned in the previous video, if you do have the window open for the worn equipment and you left click from the bank, that'll auto equip anyways, so you don't necessarily have to use the right click feature. And if you have the placeholder toggle on when you are withdrawing straight to your worn equipment through this way, then obviously that will also place a placeholder. One important thing to mention from a functional standpoint, placeholders do take up bank space, so keep that in mind. And another interesting feature, if you happen to completely remove an item from your bank, what will happen is a new empty slot will be put in its place. This is actually very similar to how it works on old school, and it will remain an empty slot until something is put back or until the bank is closed. Then by which, when you open it up again, everything gets shifted over if you haven't filled those empty slots. Again, if you're familiar with how the bank works in old school or how it worked back in the day, pretty much identical. This is gonna prevent those random shuffling around when you're removing things from your bank that we currently see in game, especially if you're removing multiple items very quickly. So hopefully you guys will appreciate that. I also want to quickly show off the search feature. I did mention previously in the last video that it has been more streamlined, made more smooth and more responsive, etc. Although you can't really get a sense of how responsive that is without any visuals. So here you can see on screen exactly what it's going to look like, or what they hope to make it look like in terms of responsiveness, etc. when it finally launches. So hopefully now you have a way better understanding of what you can expect. Also, it was asked on stream if using skill icons as tab images or recoloring tabs was a possibility. That's not something that's going to be part of this update, but it is something that they could do in the future if the players want it. It might be something that's overwhelmingly requested in feedback, especially when it's actually in our hands during the beta. So we're gonna have to wait and see for those kinds of things. And that's almost it. I do want to close out by saying that Jagex plans to increase the amount of bank space for free-to-play players to 100 and members up to 500, which, if you are a member, translates to roughly around 50 to 60 more bank space with this update. So I'm sure people are going to be happy about that. More bank space is always welcome. But this video, combined with the previous, pretty much encompasses everything we know about the Bank Rework thus far. So again, if you haven't watched that video, go check it out. And with that, I'm gonna wrap up the video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed and you want to stay up to date on all things RuneScape related, then hit the subscribe button. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I am out. Peace.